Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear me. Can you give some indication that you can hear me?
Yes, Doctor.
Okay, Alhamdulillah. Right, this morning we're going to have a talk. This is our third series of the postgraduate announcement series organized by OYA GSB. So this is our third series, and I'm very. It is a joyful meeting after a long break, yeah. And I'm very happy and delighted to have with us Dr. Ahmad Ragi Ismail. Dr. Ahmad Ragi is our new addition to our resident faculty at OYA GSB. And allow me to explain a little bit about, to introduce Dr. Ahmad Ragi. Dr. Ahmad Ragi, he possessed his PhD degree in Management Studies in Marketing from Brunel University, Brunel Business School, London, UK in 2010. He is currently working as associate professor at with us, Osman Yub Graduate School at Kuala Lumpur campus. His main research and interest in teaching interests fall into the area of branding, sustainability, cross-cultural marketing, consumer behavior, value, and ethics. He has published in Qualitative Marketing Research and International Journal of Fashion Marketing and Management, Asian Pacific Journal of Marketing and Logistics, Young Consumers, among others. He also worked as he's globally recognized by scholars. Therefore, he served as a peer reviewer in different marketing and management journal. So, if you want to know more about Dr. Ragi, Dr. Ahmad Ragi, you can always contact him at a.rageh at rocketmail.com. So if I will put up his email address in the chat, so you can always contact him if you want to know more. So allow me to share today's topic. Today's topic is about conceptual and theoretical framework, the differences and the similarities, and the usefulness of it. So here we are. We're going to start today's session with Dr. Ahmad Ragi. The floor is yours, Doctor. And thank you for sharing your knowledge with us.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to be with you today. I'm very glad. I'm very happy to introduce a very important topic to my colleagues. I'm happy to see many attendees. And without further ado, I would like to start to our topic today. Our topic today, as you mentioned, is
it's not really clear, Doctor.
Framework and conceptual.
It's not really clear. There's echo.
Can you hear me? Oh, okay. Let me see. Because it gave me some.
Please, someone explain why the QR code shows is expired, please.
Your status not active.
Doctor, is it quick to turn off my video because my bandwidth is very slow, so I think I need to turn off my video. Doctor, can you hear me now?
Dr. Ahmad, you can carry on. It's clear.
Hello?
Doctor, are you okay?
Yes, can you hear me, doctor?
Now can, yes. Carry on, doctor.
No. Okay, sorry, I need to stop the video. Maybe your internet connection is unstable.
Yeah, that's fine. You can show the slide and you can carry on with your talk.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's jump start to the topic again. Our today's webinar is about the differences and similarities, if there are any similarities between theoretical and conceptual frameworks. And today's webinar agenda, first, we are going to differentiate between theoretical and conceptual. So we need to go back to the origin of the word. So what is theory, what is concept, and what is a framework? And then we look at the literature and how the literature handle uh, these differences between, or this distinction between theoretical framework and conceptual framework. We will find three different views. The first view is the interchangeable use of the term in literature. The second one, yeah, there are some little difference. However, there are many similarities. And the third view is, yes, there are distinction between the two terms. And we look at the deductive and inductive approaches and which one, which kind of framework we use in each approach, and also within the qualitative and quantitative research paradigms, as we all know. And then we will talk about how can we develop conceptual framework and the usefulness of the framework and conceptual and theoretical. Finally, we have some limitations and conclude our session. So I'm happy to have any questions while I'm talking, or maybe you can ask me at the end of the session. So first of all, what is theory? Since we are going to talk about theoretical framework, let's first define theory. Theory is defined as a set of interrelated propositions or
Sorry,
concepts.
Dr. B, your slide, it's a white screen.
Yes.
We can't see your slide.
You can see my slide.
It's just white
How about
screen
now?
here. No, it's blank, white screen. That's all we can see. I think there's someone else also said they couldn't
Is
see
this
your
still
slides.
white?
Just white, yes.
Perhaps
Okay.
I can share with you because I can see clearly. So I'm surprised why you cannot see it because I can see it clearly. Doctor, are you sharing your slide?
There are a few who couldn't see. There's now at least 2 or 3 more who couldn't see. So
One moment, everyone, because I think there's technical. Dr. Ahmad Regi is in Egypt now, so I think there's a technical problem. You all can see it now? Okay, all right then. Doctor, sorry, but you may continue, doctor. So sorry about the technical thing. Dr. Ahmad is actually in Egypt at the moment.
Okay, I sent the slide already to Sarah. Can you share with them, please?
Dr. Ahmad, your slide is clear. We can see, but we cannot hear you clearly.
Yeah. I send the slides to Ms. Sarah. Can you hear me now? You can hear me now.
Dr. Ahmad, are you there?
Yes, yes, I'm hearing. I can hear you, doctor. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but now the screen is white again.
How about now? I just reshare the slide.
No, it's already very.
Is it okay for you to go out from the WebEx and come back again?
Maybe, yes, I will do that. Yeah, okay. I will do that.
All right. Thank you, doctor.
Come this technical error, please
Thank you.
cancel the session. Better.
Be patient, everyone. This is, Dr. Ahmad is from Egypt, so he's trying his best to sort the technical problem.
Okay.
Give him a few minutes, yeah?
Doctor, can we scan the code again? Yeah, we just arrived at 10 o'clock. QR code.
Yeah, one moment. I will ask Cekta to do it. The QR code is up. Please take your attendance if you wish. So,
Okay,
Dr. Ahmad, yeah.
can you hear me now?
We are unable to see the screen. It's white. Is it okay for you to just explain?
Still white. I sent my slides. Okay, I sent to Sarah the slides in PDF file. Yeah, maybe she reshare with our colleagues.
Yeah. Right. Now you're clear. Your voice is clear. I will ask Sarah to share the content. Yeah. Doctor, you carry on, doctor. Yeah. Take your time and carry on your thing while I ask Sarah to do so. Yeah, it's in.
Thank you so much.
Carry on, doctor.
Oh, okay. Okay. So first of all, what is theory? Theory is defined as a set of interrelated concepts or definition that present a systematic point of view of specifying relationship between variables. So a phenomena that needs to be explained, and theory is explaining that phenomena by trying to find the relationship between different concepts, as many scholars define theory like Silverman and Fox and Beer and so many other scholars. So we have a famous theory in like TBB, or theory of planned behavior, by Edges in 1991. This theory has 5 concepts, if you like, or 5 constructs. There are different in order to understand human intention. There are 3 concepts or 3 variables controlling the intention, like attitude, subjective norm, and perceived behavior control, and intention may lead to behavior later on. So this is a very well-known theory in the field of social science and management and so many other fields. From these definitions, we can come up with 3 major characteristics of a theory. First of all, it has to be interrelated concepts, a set of interrelated concepts, rather. Number 2 is relationship. So theory can be explained by relationship between these concepts, and this relationship can explain or predict the occurrence of certain phenomena or an event. So those are the major characteristics of a theory. So this is the first concept that I would like to discuss. The second one is concept. But before we move to the concept, some researchers distinguish between 3 types of theory. They said there are micro-level theory, meso-level theory, and macro-level theory. The micro-level is the theory that on the individual level, such as TBB I just mentioned, theory of planned behavior, it explains the behavior of human beings and the intention, and what are the factors or the variables that influence this intention. There are another type of theories, which is the meso level, which deal with communities or organization. We have in human resources or knowledge management or organizational behavior. We have, for example, RBV, or resource-based view theory. That is on that level, the organizational or the community. Another level of theories, which called the macro level, which is looking at a broader aspect of a system or a society, such as social disorganization theory. Okay, this is theory, first of all. Second is, what is concept? A concept is defined as an image or a symbolic representation of an abstract idea. So, for example, attitude. Attitude is a concept. Concept that is abstract. We cannot measure attitude because it is not observed, but we can measure it. It's unobserved. We can measure it by other manifested variables that can be representing this kind of attitude. So this is a concept. Also, concept can be defined as abstract ideas. Creswell in 2009 also suggested that there are some difference between concept and construct. We all the time we hear those 2 terms, concept or construct. Actually, there is no much difference. It depends on the field. In the psychology and social science, they more into construct, and also in the management field and business field, we call it construct, but in some other social sciences, they call it concept. So this is the second term I would like to illustrate. And the third one is a framework. Since we are going to talk about theoretical and conceptual framework, so first theoretical comes from the theory, second conceptual comes from concept, and framework. What is a framework? Framework is defined as a visual presentation, or written, or mathematical. So it can be any form. Could be a written presentation or a visual, like what we commonly use in our field. This graphical representation also explain the main things that you as a researcher need to study in your research, whether you are doing your master's or PhD or your journal article. You are going to focus on some things to study, certain topic or certain fact or concept. The way you present this, it's very hard to find any thesis or dissertation without a framework. The way you present this to your supervisor or to the reader is through a visual presentation or graphical presentation, or maybe written, or maybe some mathematical formulas. This is called a research framework. Research framework is provide some guidance for researcher, and also can help fine-tune the research questions and the methods that we are going to use later on, and what are the variables that we are going to select for our study, and we are planning what kind of analysis we are planning to do. All this from the framework. So from the first site you look at the framework, you can understand so many things as a researcher, what kind of research questions, what kind of methods that you are going to use, how to measure these variables, and how to analyze the data later on. Okay, as I mentioned in the beginning of the webinar agenda, when I look at the literature, when you look also at the literature, you will find that many researchers, they actually interchangeably use the term conceptual and theoretical. They don't make any difference as a synonymous term. So they think that conceptual is a theoretical, not much difference. Yeah, and so that we have a first view or a school of thought here. They said, okay, theoretical and conceptual framework are similar. However, this is not true. The second opinion, if you like, is both theoretical and conceptual framework, they serve the similar function in research. So as I said, it's very hard to find a research without a framework. So whether it is conceptual or theoretical, both of them serving the same function, and we will see in details now this view. The third one said that no, they are clearly distinct. There are a huge difference between theoretical framework and conceptual framework. Surprisingly, when you read the book of Meyer and Huberman of Qualitative Research Method 1994, you will find those scholars did not differentiate between theoretical framework and conceptual framework. They consider it as a conceptual framework. And this is a very famous book. Everyone doing qualitative research, they rely much on this kind of book. They define only conceptual framework, and they didn't mention anything about theoretical. So because they thought that conceptual framework is theoretical framework, and it's a theory-driven and descriptive. Whether it is descriptive or causal, they are the same. That is the first view in literature. So they think that the goal of conceptual framework is to categorize, as we mentioned earlier, and describe concepts relevant to the study and map the relationship among them. The second view, no, the conceptual framework and theoretical framework has a little difference, which is conceptual framework is based on different theories, and sometimes also it is based on some various aspects from practitioner knowledge. However, the theoretical framework is generally based on only one theory, overarching theory. This is the only difference. So the main difference for the second view is that the conceptual framework is based on one or more theories, maybe also one theory plus practitioner knowledge. However, the theoretical is based on one theory only. And both of them, both theoretical and conceptual framework, have many similarities, such as both conceptual and theoretical explain and predict certain phenomena. They are actually based on previous research or based on practitioner knowledge. They are essential elements, as I mentioned, in the research project, and they are important tools for business research. So this is the second view. So try to differentiate a little bit between conceptual and theoretical. However, the third one, they try to make clear distinction between the two concepts. So, what is theoretical framework for the third point of view? Theoretical framework refers to the theory that a researcher chooses to guide him or her research. When we first start our research, when we sit with our supervisor, the first question is what theory that you are going to build your research on. So the theory that you select to guide your research, from this theory you can develop what is known as theoretical framework. And again, it has to be only one theory when you develop theoretical framework. So that is going to be one theory. For example, I give an example here in slide number 15. Shin and Fang, 2004, they developed a framework to understand, a theoretical framework to understand the Taiwanese customer intention to adopt internet banking in Taiwan. And this framework is based on the TBB theory of brand behavior I just mentioned in the beginning. So when you look at the model, it's only based on one theory. Try to understand why the Taiwanese customer adopt the internet banking. What are the different variables that affect their behavioral intention and the actual use by building or studying this research on TBB theory of planned behavior. So this is an example of theoretical framework. Conceptual framework, Maxwell 1996 said that conceptual framework is a system of concepts, expectation theories, different theories integrated together. So you also may combine one or two theories together, plus some empirical research, plus systemized knowledge related to concepts or issues. Another example here, a study done in 2021 by Chin and his colleague. They developed conceptual framework on the artificial intelligence adoption in B2B marketing. Look at this framework. If you have the slides in slide number 17, you can see that in this framework, actually, researchers in this field, they lack a conceptual framework to explain this artificial intelligence adoption in B2B marketing. That's why those researchers come up with a conceptual framework based on many theories, many concepts from the practitioner background and from the theoretical background. They merge them together to help researchers in this community and to identify gap in literature, and by integrating all those factors together in one framework. And this one in slide number 17 in my presentation. So again, what is the difference for the third view between theoretical and conceptual? The difference is when the researcher finds himself cannot meaningfully rely on one theory in his work, then he has to synthesize existing views. Those views come from literature review, from a theoretical background, from different theories, from empirical findings. And by synthesizing this, they call this a conceptual framework. So now I can see some kind of confusion now between theoretical and conceptual. Let's clarify this by looking at slide number 19 to understand the interplay between conceptual framework and theoretical framework. You can see that, and this is introduced by Emenda 2014 by looking at the interplay. You can see that double-headed arrow coming from and going to the four rectangles, theoretical framework, conceptual framework, and set of related concepts and theories. So from theory comes the theoretical framework. And theoretical framework is driven from theory. And also theory, you can get from theory some set of related concepts. And from this set of related concepts, you can have your conceptual framework. And conceptual framework is broader than theoretical framework. So if you like, you can say that theoretical framework is part of the conceptual framework. So conceptual framework is a broader, which includes theoretical, and theoretical comes from theory, and theory is about a set of related concepts. Okay, how can we use this if we are using the deductive approach or the inductive approach in our research? So let's first of all define what is a deductive. I'm sure that many of us are aware of the deductive and inductive approach, but the main difference is that inductive reasoning, this reasoning aims to develop theory. So researchers that follow the inductive approach, research approach, they come up with theory at the end. While the deductive reasoning, they are testing existing theories. This is the major difference between these two approaches. So what kind of framework that we use in those two different approaches? If most theoretical framework are associated with quantitative research, which intend to rely on deductive. So if you are following the deductive reasoning, because deductive reasoning, you start by theory, so that is your framework in this case known as theoretical framework. The other way around, if you following the inductive reasoning, so conceptual framework are associated with this inductive reasoning. And of course, inductive in many cases qualitative, and deductive in most cases are quantitative. So again, Amendment 2014 try to explain this in slide number 23 by looking at the different research approach. First, if you start by qualitative research problem, then you synthesize relevant concept from the various sources, as we said before. In this case, conceptual framework is applied to your research problem. But on the other hand, if you are taking the quantitative approach, you have a quantitative research problem, then you identify relevant theoretical structure by using theoretical framework and then apply this theoretical framework to your research problem. Okay, so far so good. If you have any questions, please let me know. If you have a question, maybe I can take few questions now if you like. No questions? Carry on.
Doctor, one question.
Yes, please.
I try to understand the difference in between the three things: conceptual framework, theoretical framework, and research framework.
Yes.
What are the difference in between these three things?
Okay. Conceptual framework is if you are, as a researcher, you are using more than one theory and you are trying to develop your research framework based on literature review, theoretical background, having one or more theory, and some practitioner knowledge. In this case, called conceptual framework. However, if your research is based on only one theory, that is called theoretical framework. If you are taking the quantitative approach, in most cases you are having a theoretical framework. If you are taking the qualitative approach, in this case, you may have more than one theory and you model called conceptual framework. And both are frameworks as I said earlier, some other researchers do not really differentiate between them. As long as your research has a framework that guide you in terms of the proposition, the research questions, the methodology that you are going to use later on, and how you analyze your data. Am I answered your question now?
So do we need to have that three, or we need to have just in between two, either conceptual framework and research framework, or theoretical framework and research framework, or we need to have that three in our thesis?
No, only one. But it's how to label this framework, how to name that one. The proper label you give to this framework, if you are using more than one theory, then you call it conceptual. If your research is qualitative, you call it conceptual. If your research is based on theoretical background as well as practitioner knowledge, you call it conceptual. But if you are taking the deductive approach, pure deductive approach, you are relying on one theory only, then in this case called theoretical. So you need to have one only, not more than one.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, Doctor, sorry to interrupt you. So how about this mixed study method? How about the mixed study method? So do we need to amend the two frameworks?
Very good questions, because I concluded that at the end. Yeah, if you are following the mixed methods, meaning that you are following the two approaches, either you start by qualitative and end by quantitative, or the other way around. In this case, we call it conceptual framework. So because conceptual framework here can guide your theory in the beginning, and also can be an output from your qualitative study. In this case, called a conceptual framework. So I will show this in more details later when I conclude my presentation. Yes. Any more questions?
Yes, Doctor, I have a question, please.
Yes.
What's the difference between micro, macro, and meso?
Oh,
The theory. And example,
okay.
please.
Okay, thank you for these questions. Theories based on the unit of analysis. Unit of analysis meaning that is it a human being, individuals, or organization, companies, or a society as a whole? Okay, so theories that are looking at the individual level, the human, the consumers, the customers, those kind of theories known as meso-level theory. Micro level theory. Micro level, because this theory is interested in understanding individual behavior, individual intention. This kind of theory is known as micro level, such as theory of brand behavior, theory of reasoned action, innovation diffusion theory, and so on. But when the theory is looking at organizations or communities or Facebook groups or large group of respondents, in this case, the theory is known as meso-level theory, such as I said, resource-based view. Resource-based view is trying to understand the dynamic capability of the organization, and based on this, the resources that the organization own or possess. So in this case, it is known as meso-level theories. Other theories that are looking at the society as a whole, or a system, political system, for example, or kind of social system or culture, these kind of theories are known as macro level theories. Okay?
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you. So it is mainly based on unit of analysis.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay? Shall we carry on?
Yes, Doctor, please.
Okay, now we talk about the usefulness of theoretical framework as per the agenda. So we already look at what is theory, what is concept, and what is a framework. the different views on the differences between theoretical and conceptual framework. Now, we are looking at how useful is the framework. Let's look at the theoretical framework. You can see that the overlap between the two usefulness of theoretical and conceptual. So, theoretical framework assist researchers to shape their research, to have a research plan. They link your study, conceptual theoretical framework, link your study to the body of knowledge, the body of literature. Also provide a frame that under this frame you can investigate your problem and your problem can be understood easily, and also it helps researcher to shape research questions and focus the study. So everyone will look at the framework and understand from this framework so many things. That's why I said it is very hard to find in any university a student or a researcher doing a master's or PhD without a framework. That is very hard to find. For the conceptual framework is similar also. It links the concept together to understand the research problem. It helps establishing the coherence in research, because without a framework, everything over the place. So you cannot understand what is this research about. But when you have conceptual framework, your research is coherent. It's like one piece of knowledge, and you can understand. So also give direction to researchers and link the abstract ideas that we mentioned earlier to the empirical data, and introduce explicitness. Explicitness, everything is clear. When you have a framework, your research process is clear for your supervisor, for anyone who read your work, and also we can understand what actually you try to achieve from this conceptual framework. What are you trying to accomplish? And generally, frameworks in general help us to explain certain phenomena. Frameworks sets out the explanation that might be useful to define and make sense of the data later on. Is a filtering tool, because when you introduce your framework in your research, you are trying to say that this is my work and this is what I integrate in my study, and other things are not included. So this is as like a filtering tool for selecting your research questions, your research objectives, how you are going to use the different methods to collect data and so on. And also it's a reference point for the discussion of the literature, methodology, and setting at the end, setting the boundaries of, as I said, this is what you cannot cover everything in one study. So by introducing your framework, you are saying that this is my boundaries of my research. This is what I really focus on. Okay, move to how can we develop good framework as a researcher. First of all, you start by the keywords. Using Google Scholar now, using different research databases, you can identify first your keywords in your subject area of your study that you are interested to look at, and try to map out or draw on a piece of paper these key concepts together, and try to go back to the literature and take one key concept or an idea and try to do some kind of brainstorming and link these ideas together if you think they are related, and then go back and forth. So whichever is used, it will take time. I always say to my students, don't rush to finish your framework as quickly as possible, because it is an iterative process. There are a number of iterations until you get a very robust framework. You need to focus in both the content and the relationship. This is the main thing. The content, I mean that the number of variables that you are not going to include in your conceptual framework, and the relationship between those variables. And you need to improve once, twice, three times. Take time to come up with a very robust and parsimonious framework. Okay, does framework have some kind of limitation? Yes. The answer is yes. And there's a famous quote that is, all models are wrong, but some are useful. This is for a statistical model, but we can apply it also to the conceptual model, because there are no perfect conceptual framework or theoretical framework. There are some limitation. What kind of limitation? Actually, the main limitation for any framework is the bias of the researcher himself or herself, because your research framework is influenced by you, by your experience, by your knowledge as an individual. And uh, this kind of bias in the beginning and will continue. So it's going to be ongoing bias. So once you develop your framework, and in the beginning, your framework is influenced by what you know, what experience you have, what knowledge you have, and that will continue to influence your framework while you develop and enhance your framework. So what is the solution to this kind of limitation? Is to revisit conceptual framework again, once, twice, three times with your supervisor, particularly at the end when evaluating your, even you want, if you think that you already have a good framework, you might find that, okay, you need to still to revisit your framework. So never ending until you make sure with your supervisor that you have the right one. To conclude our session today, I put all this kind of information in the table that to clarify the differences between the two conceptual and theoretical framework, and in slide number 30. Sorry. So first difference between conceptual and theoretical framework. First, conceptual framework is created by the researcher from a variety of conceptual or theoretical perspectives. However, theoretical framework evolve or take shape from reviewed and or data collected, adopted from pre-existing one theory. The purpose of the conceptual framework is to help the researcher see clearly the main variables and concepts in a given study. However, for the theoretical framework, it helps the researcher also to see clearly the main variables and concepts. So you can see that many similarities between the two terms. Conceptual framework provide the researcher with a general approach on the methodology, research design, target population, research sample, and data collection. However, a theoretical framework provide the researcher with general approach, methodology, research design, target population. They are similar in this purpose. And for the conceptual framework, it guides the researcher in the collection, interpretation, and explanation of the data where no dominant theoretical perspective exists. Conceptual framework, as we mentioned earlier, no one theoretical perspective exists. However, for the theoretical, it guides the researcher in collection, interpretation, and explanation of the data. Finally, for the conceptual, it guides future research. Conceptual meaning of the conceptual framework is a synthesis of relevant concepts. However, theoretical framework is application of a theory and the whole meaning or in part. Last but not least, the methodological approach. For the conceptual framework may be located in both quantitative and qualitative research paradigms. Increasingly now, many researchers use mixed methods approach. You are recommended to use conceptual framework, as I mentioned, and one question answered before. And the data mostly collected through both empirical and descriptive surveys. In this case, we use conceptual. However, theoretical framework is located in quantitative research paradigm, and data collected under quantitative data are mainly experimental or survey or empirical surveys. And that's all for today's session. I hope you got something out of it and can now differentiate between theoretical and conceptual framework. And I'm happy to answer any questions if you have.
Okay, Alhamdulillah. Thank you very much, Dr. Ahmad. Any question, please forward to Doctor. But allow me to share one question, Dr. Ahmad. From Dewey asks, does the shape of framework meant anything? For the example, some are in round shape and the other are in rectangle shape. Dewey is referring to your diagram stated P1, P2A, P2B, and so on.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. Yeah, yes. This one is conceptual framework may take many shapes. Sometimes it depends on the content, whether it is a process framework or a content framework. But some they are using flow charts, they are using rectangle or oval, and some using the mapping or this kind of tree map and so on. But it is, I think it is mainly based on the academic field. So if it is it's about the process that you are going to follow, you can see that it may take many shapes, rectangle, arrows, and flow chart to try to describe or explain that the process that you are going to embark on. But if it is a conceptual framework of a relationship between variables, the normal shapes is an oval, and there are kind of arrows coming out from one variable to the other variable, and this is basically our in our field. This one, artificial intelligence, all these are kind of variables. So whether you are draw it in circle or a rectangle, it does not really matter, because this kind of conceptual framework is sets out um, an integrated framework that help researcher later on to examine all these concepts or construct together. So with regard to the shape, I don't think it's a really big difference if you draw in this way, or if you draw it like the theory of brand behavior shapes. So yeah, I think it does not really matter in this case.
Doctor?
Yes, you can tell me. Yes.
Okay, so I have a question. So how about the framework you mentioned in our proposal? So both theoretical framework or conceptual framework, we need to mention it in the second chapter, right? In the literature review, right? So in the proposal, so
Yes.
we want to mention the framework. Of course, it depends on our methodology. We are going to choose the quantitative or qualitative, and then we just mention which framework we are going to talk about. Yeah.
Yes,
So-
you are right. Yeah.
Yeah, because so with your explanation, my personal understanding, conceptual framework, it refers to a different system of theories. How about other people to talk about the topic in your field? And of course, there are some limitations. And finally, if you want to use the qualitative method, you need to explore a theory by yourself. But if you want to use the theoretical framework, you need to choose only one theory, because you are going to use it to analyze the data in your quantitative research, right?
Yes, you are right. Yeah, that's what I mean is, if you are taking the qualitative approach, and in this case the deductive research approach, you find that no dominant existing theory in literature. So you are actually developing a theory. So your output in this case is a theory, if you like, or a integrated framework. And in this case, your framework would be developed based on many things: existing literature review, your qualitative interviews or focus groups, and from your practitioner knowledge, and so on. Altogether, that will lead the output will be a conceptual framework in this case. But if you are taking the quantitative approach, you have a clear theory that guide your research. And from this theory, you can develop your theoretical framework and test your proposition and come up with your finding and explain that finding or that result. In this case, it is known as a theoretical framework. If you are following the mixed methods, I would recommend to use the conceptual framework and not theoretical framework. Because as we mentioned, conceptual framework is broader term. Conceptual framework is based on theory and non-theoretical. Theoretical and non-theoretical. Theory is a set of interrelated variables. So your framework is in theoretical. If you're saying conceptual, that means implicitly it's a theoretical framework. In this case, it is theoretical framework. But you cannot claim that when you say your framework is theoretical, you cannot claim that it's a conceptual. But if you said it is a conceptual, it means it is conceptual and theoretical.
Okay, so in the mixed study, so according to my reading, I have also learned that there are different types. So maybe in the mixed study method, also maybe if the qualitative approach played a primary role, so maybe we can so whether it is use the conceptual or theoretical framework, is it depends on the place which approach is placed in the mixed method?
Yes, it depends on the place. Yeah, if you start by framework, still you can call it conceptual. If you end up with a framework, it is conceptual as well.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for your explanation.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I can't see many questions written, but I didn't follow why I'm talking. So can you please, if you want to ask any questions?
Yes. There's one more question, continuity from the earlier question,
Yes,
Dr. From Dewey. Dewey asked what are the P1, P2A, P2B, P3A means?
Okay. B is proposition because what is the difference between proposition here and hypothesis? If you said B1 is proposition 1 and H1 is hypothesis 1. In this case, this framework is conceptual framework, not yet tested, or they don't aim to test it. So they propose this kind of relationship or between those concepts that you have in this framework, but hypothesis is to be tested later on in the same study. So the proposition is kind of guidelines for future research to take into consideration these kind of relations. Proposed relationship is not tested yet, not validated. So that's what we call it proposition. And maybe other researchers will take this framework and try to test this framework. Then they will call it hypothesis. And because hypothesis is an assumption that need to be tested and validated. Okay. Yes.
Guys, any more questions?
Yes, I can see Saiful. Saiful, please. Mr. Saiful.
Doctor, one question.
Yes, please.
What the difference? I mean, I try to understand about the difference in between underpinning theory and grounded theory in relation with this theoretical framework and research framework.
Okay. But underpinning theory is the theory that you are building your work on. So, and that is very much related to the theoretical framework. So, as I mentioned earlier, in a study in 2004, the researcher tried to understand the Taiwanese customer, why the Taiwanese customer is trying to adopt internet banking. In order to understand this phenomena, they based their work on theory of brand behavior to enable them to explain what factors influence the intention to adopt. And this code is underpinning theory. Underpinning theory means a theory that you are actually, based on your extensive reading, you think that this theory is very much relevant to your work and help you explain this kind of phenomenon. The ground theory is a different grounded theory for those qualitative researchers. When you start your research, you have no clue what is the guiding theory in your work. So you are building theory in this case, and you're building the theory based on huge amount of qualitative information you collect. So, for example, try to understand, for example, social media addiction. Let's say this is a phenomena that we are trying to understand. I understand there are some kind of theory explaining that, but let's say that you don't have any clear theory that you think explaining really well why teenagers, for example, are addicted to social media. And you start by work with no theory to explain this. So you start do some kind of exploratory research in the beginning, qualitative interviews, focus group, and observation, and kind of ethnographic research, following and observing social media communities, following youngsters while they are using social media. From all this kind of information, plus the literature review, you come up with a theory. In this kind of process, it's grounded because the theory is grounded in the data, and you start to take to the next level by trying to reach to abstract ideas from this amount of knowledge you have. And these abstract ideas or concepts, you link them together and come up with a model based on a grounded theory. Okay? Does it answer your question?
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you. Any more questions? We still have time, I think.
Hi, Dr. It's Siva here. I just want to clarify myself again. You mentioned for quantitative research, you have to use theoretical framework, but I'm slightly confused now because I thought I guess I'm using two theories to do the quantitative. But so my question is, can I have conceptual framework for quantitative?
Yes, the answer is yes. When you see
Right,
that
okay.
the last slide,
Sorry?
the last slide I mentioned this because many researchers now they are using the mixed method with the qualitative and quantitative, and you can use conceptual. Yes.
Understand. Okay, that's good because when you are talking to someone else, I misunderstood probably. I thought quantitative can only be conceptual. Theoretical, but it's not. You can have conceptual for quantitative too. That's good. That's clear.
Yes.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you very much. If it is based on one theory, then you can call it theoretical.
Yes. So if it's only one theory, then as long as your research you can justify your research on just one theory, then it becomes theoretical framework. Is it? That's my understanding. Am I right in that? Is it? Yeah.
You are right. Yeah, exactly. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any more questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Please.
In my research, I am using two theories to explain my research. So, in my conceptual problem, is it acceptable for me to have two theories so that it will explain my research? For example, now I am using the information system theory and the resource-based view theory.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, you can. Of course, if you are using more than one theory, then it's by default is a conceptual framework because you are integrating concepts from different theories. So it is a conceptual framework.
Okay, thank you. Just to know
Thank you.
whether it is acceptable.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, accepted.
Hi, Dr. Tsivahi again. There's a question in the chat box by Siada. How to relate the theory with variables? That's the question by Siada.
So, what is the question again? Sorry.
How to relate the theory with variables?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for this question. Is actually a theory is, as we mentioned in the beginning, theory is a set of variables, related variables. So your variables actually come from the theory, a set of interrelated variables, independent variable and dependent variable, and mediators and moderators. Altogether, they are actually a theory. If you think that this kind of coherent theory, one theory, is enough to explain what you're doing in your research, so you take all the variables together to pursue research with this relationship so between variables. But you can hardly find one theory explains everything because theories has so many limitations as well. So researchers, as many of you mentioned, you combining many theories together. In this case, you try to pick up the variables that you think relevant to your work and combine with other variables that this theory are very limited and they did not mention anything about. In this study of Taiwanese customer trying to look at the internet banking, actually in their study, they provide 3 frameworks, not only one framework. They provide the first one is a pure TPP theory based on the 5 constants we all know in the TPP theory: attitude, subjective norm, perceived behavior control, intention, and actual use. And they found that this theory alone cannot explain also internet banking adoption in Taiwan. So they actually have another framework in the same study by combining other theory of TRA, theory of reason action, together with, but they didn't take all the variables from the theory of reason action to add up to the theory of brand behavior. Yeah, this one. You can see that they have attitudinal belief, normative belief. In this study also, they have another 2 frameworks. They try to explain this phenomena by integrating another theory to make it more to make it more relevant to their work. In this case, they pick up few variables from this second theory and integrate into the TBB, theory of brand behavior, to come up with a model that is based on 2 or more theories. So again, theory is a variable interrelated together. You, based on your literature, extensive reading literature, you will pick up the variable that you think is very important in your research and can explain your focus, your study focus, or your focal construct. Okay. Any more questions?
So, one question, Doctor, meaning that whenever, I mean, as you said before, a
Yes.
theory is a kind of a set of different variable. I mean,
Yes.
we may choose some of the variable which may best to explain the phenomena. So
Yes.
even we didn't use all the set of variable within the theory, we still can claim the one that we use to explain our phenomena fall with the same theory. You got
Yes.
my question, Doctor.
I got your point. Yes, yes. Whether you are going to exclude or include all the variables, you exclude some of them, you include all of them. What you need is just justification of why. Yeah. For example, if in TBB theory, let's say in my research, I'm going to look at attitude only. Okay, attitude and how attitude relates to behavior intention. Okay, this is straightforward relationship. I'm going to look at this relationship only and take it out from. I'm not going to look at the subjective norm and perceived behavior control, for example. In this case, you need a strong justification why you take only those two variables only from this. Do you think that those two that you excluded, subjective norm and perceived behavior control, can be replaced by other variables from other theories which can perform really well in explaining the behavior intention of the customer? Okay, so if you provide a very strong justification, yes, you can exclude some variables and you can include others. Uh, yeah, does that answer your question?
Doctor, can we apply the same whenever we choose construct within variable? Like for example, if we are talking about technology acceptance model, so they consist of a few construct, right? But if
Yes.
you just wanted to choose a few out of the whole, can we still call that one as a technology acceptance model?
Yeah, you can apply with any theory. Yeah, even sometimes where we have a multidimensional construct or multidimensional variable. The variable that is like, for example, surface quality. For example, surface quality have 5 dimensions, right? Responsiveness and friendliness and so on. You still can adjust and adapt and change and revise this construct itself to fit in with your study, because sometimes when you apply the same scale to a different study, it doesn't work. So you need to find out or to edit or try to adjust this kind of variable to fit in with your study. So yes, even the certain variable, single one, multi-dimensional construct, we can pick up only few dimensions from the total number of dimensions. For example, market orientation. Market orientation is a very popular construct in our field in marketing. Has 3 main sub-dimension like interfunctional correlation, interfunctional coordination, customer orientation, and proactiveness, and so many. In one study, I picked up only one dimension that is really important in this study, because I was talking about internal branding and how internal branding can be influenced by the interfunctional correlation between the different departments. From the market orientation construct, it's a multi-dimensional one, I pick up only one and try to integrate in a framework explaining internal branding in organization. Because I thought in my study, this kind of coordination between the different functions in organization is very useful in my study and can help me understand the internal branding process. So I just pick up only one dimension from one variable. Okay?
Dr. Ragesh, I'm Ragesh.
Yes.
Just sharing with you. I think the other thing that we need to reflect when it comes to the theoretical framework, it's with regards to when this is just a guide, right? Once you have your data, the most important thing is how the reflection of your data at your discussion level, right? For instance, if the phenomena like you're sharing now is an individual level, then when you discuss about the theoretical implication, it should be reflecting how that phenomena can be explained at the individual level. I think what the way I look at it, especially for student, this is just helping the student. When you guys write your discussion, when come to theoretical implication, this is where you bringing back your theoretical framework. You know,
Yes.
What is the assumption, the basic assumption of your theory? What does it tell you? You know, so this is like I said again, this is just a guide at the beginning. The most important thing is later on at the discussion part. That is my view, Dr. Ragesh. You know, I think you did a great job in explaining to the student about the conceptual and theoretical framework.
Thank you, bro. Thank you so much. Any more questions? Happy to answer.
Doctor?
Yes.
Okay, so in the quantitative approach, of course, we can use theoretical framework to analyze the data. But if we can, but in the choosing the instrumentation, if we cannot find a good instrument, so maybe we need to design a questionnaire by the researcher. So my question is, so if you want to use the theoretical framework to analyze the data, when you are going to design the questionnaire, you also need to so how to describe you also need to in harmony with the theoretical framework, right? So when you're going to design a questionnaire, because so at the end of the research, you need to use the theoretical framework to analyze the data. So my question is, so when you are making the questionnaire, you also need to consider maybe some factors such like the ecological framework. You need to consider several aspects when you are designing the questionnaire.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure if I got your question, but you are going to use your theoretical framework, and that will help you identifying the instrument that you are going to use. When in the quantitative approach, based on your theoretical framework, you are going to have your measurement scale, and this measurement scale based on the abstract construct that you have in your model, and you are trying to find in literature whether this has been measured before or not. If there's existing scale, you are going to take this existing scale and develop your questionnaire, but you have to consider that kind of revising the existing scale to fit in with your study, and to test that kind of other kind of validity, like ecological validity and so on. Yeah, you may need to consider in the developing phase of your conceptual frame or theoretical framework to add few constructs for the purpose only of testing this kind of validity, not for explaining your phenomena that you are studying. Because in the data analysis phase, you are required to test many types of validity: content validity, discriminant validity, face validity, and so on. Among these tests, you are going to have to see that the nomenological validity. Nomenological validity is you are trying to find the network between, or the relationship between your construct of the study and other construct maybe is not in the boundaries of your study, meaning that you are only adding those constructs to your model just for the test purposes, not to explain your theory. So you actually you mentioned a very good point, because you need to consider from the beginning, when you rely on one theory, also to add some kind of variables that may be very much in need of that one in the analysis phase to test some kind of validity. But this is not to say that this is my framework and those variables explaining, unless you think that is important. In this case, it's called conceptual framework, again, because you are building your work on two different theories. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Welcome. Any more questions? About the slide. I think the slides I already sent to Miss Sarah. Please share with others. I think already with you the slides. Can you please, Professor Dariha, can you please share with them the slides?
Yeah, if you allow it, doctor, we will do so. But please, participant, you can also view the recording in our FB. Yeah. Any more question? We have about 8 more minutes. You can ask Dr. Ragi while he has time to answer your questions. Saiful, I think you're raising your hand. So
Yes.
do you have any question? Dr. Ragi, if you can, wrap up any words of advice to our participants, especially the PhD students doing their PhD research now.
Yes, thank you, Doctor. And before we wrap up, just advice I mentioned in the end is please take time. Please take time developing your framework. It's not an easy task, because everything later on will be based on your framework. Your framework is guiding your research, a tool that can communication tool between you and your supervisor. Based on your framework, you are going to decide on what's your research questions. You can fine tune your hypothesis. You can think about your methods, how you collect data, and so on. So it is a very important, very critical tool, actually. Some students, they rush to move to the second phase, and I don't recommend this, because, as I said, in case you develop a conceptual framework, you need to have different perspective, different views, and there are many models already in your field, and your framework has to provide novel perspective, and that is not an easy task to come up with. Once you properly develop your framework, I believe this kind of a mechanical part later on, just data collection, data analysis results, an easy process that you go through. However, the main issue is selecting the right theory, or combining more than one theory, or having a practitioner perspective in your model. This is the most important thing. So iteration is an iteration process. So you will never come up with an ideal model from the beginning. It takes time and it takes effort as well. So please, this is the main advice I would like to say, and I wish you, inshallah, all the very best.
Okay. Right. Thank you very much, Associate Professor Dr. Amar Ragi. It is a very insightful information given to our student. Your sharing is very insightful and informative, and particularly to those doing their research. The information is very clear. We apologize for the technical problem earlier, but Alhamdulillah, it went well. And I will also like to thank you, participants, for joining us today, this morning. And I also would like to remind that we also have 2 more sessions in June on the postgraduate enhancement series, and also 2 more sessions in July. So be alert of the posters. We will put up the posters as and when the session goes well. Yeah. So thank you very much for today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the day, and please join us for our future enhancement series. Thank you all, and thank you very much. I really appreciate it, Dr. Ahmad. Thank you, and
Thank you so much for your
have a safe
everyone.
journey home.
Thank you. I'm very pleased to be with you today. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.